here at the Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Richmond, and I'm Faith Harris, the Executive Director for Virginia Interfaith Power Light, and I'm here to welcome all of you to this space. We are really grateful for the opportunity to have a conversation tonight on environmental justice and to really think about how we are faring in this state related to our policies, related to our practices, related to how we're moving forward to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to breathe fresh air, drink potable, clean water, and to grow good, healthy food in good, healthy soil. And so I'm just really excited that we are here with partners. We have members from Southside Relief here with us. We also have all of our staff is here with the exception of a few part-time folk. And we can introduce them a little later. But I want to also greet a friend from all the way from Northern Virginia who drove down here today to be with us, Janet Phoenix, Dr. Janet Phoenix, who is who's our vice chair for the Environmental Justice Council, but she is also a professor at George Washington University, and she is a good friend of our work, but she's also a good friend of the work of climate and environmental justice. I'm going to invite Pastor Marvin Gilliam to come and give us a welcome and a greeting and open us with a brief prayer. And then I'm going to turn it over to our policy director, Kim Sutterth, who's going to kind of lead and facilitate our conversation tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Thank you all for being here with us in the space, both in person and online. Really quickly, if you are in the chat, just say, hey, wave, something. Say hello. Feel free to engage in the chat as we have somebody monitoring that as well when it comes time for question and answer. But we're really grateful to host you all here in this space, to be a part of this environmental justice work, which is really an important part of how we practice and how we exercise our faith. And so we're looking forward to the conversation to be had tonight. Let's bow for a word of prayer. Gracious God, we are grateful for your continued gifts of life, of love, of the ability to gather, to share together. We thank you for your continued presence with us as evidenced in your great creation. And we gather today to discuss the issues in the ways that we care for the creation with which you have entrusted us. And we pray that this time tonight will be fruitful, both in helping us to become more knowledgeable in the work of environmental justice here in our region, in our city, and in our world, as well as empowering us towards advocacy towards policies that will help us to preserve the beauty and the practicality of our creation, so that we do have, as Dr. Harris said, fresh air to breathe, clean water to drink, great soil, healthy soil from which to grow our food. And so we pray that you will bless this time, bless each person that is here, both in person and online, as we go forward this evening. It's in your name we pray. Amen and amen.
How's everybody doing? Whoops. If I could do it real quick. I don't. How about now? Okay. Just a quick mic check if it's okay. If you can hear the sound of my voice, will you clap one time? If you can hear the sound of my voice, will you clap 2 times? Okay, since you're in the clapping mood, will everybody please give a round of applause to Bishop Gilliam and the Mount Carmel Baptist Church for hosting us this evening. Thank you so very much. I'll go ahead and introduce myself, because you don't know who I am. My name is Kim Sutterth, and I have the honor of being the Policy Director for Virginia Interfaith Power Light. And I'm here with several of my colleagues, Glenn Allen and Connor and Miss T and Sharika and of course Dr. Harris. And I'm going to tell you a lot about Virginia Interfaith Power and Light in just a moment. But before I do that, I intended to share a grounding video by Amanda Gorman, but I'd like to call my colleague T up, if she would, and help us out with a live grounding exercise. Is that okay? Can I do that? Can I interrupt my own agenda? Awesome, thank you so much. You got a mic? All right.
I have a mic. Hey, y'all. Okay, y'all, so we in the church, right? One thing that we do here, and anytime you engage me, I like to talk. And so this is a town hall, so y'all get to talk back. So I'm going to try it again. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? We're so glad that you came out to enjoy, to come and fellowship with us, and so that we can hear your concerns surrounded around environmental justice. So I would just like to bring us in this moment. Settle yourself as you find comfort and see fit. Place your feet on the ground, flat. And allow the ground up under you to hold you. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Take another deep breath in through your nose, honoring the breath inside of your body, recognizing how it feels to exhale, and as your body is supported by the chair beneath you, we thank Earth for being ever so present with us in every step that we take and every move that we make. It is the breath that Earth breathes into our bodies so that we may be present here. As you inhale and as you exhale, take a moment to tell Earth thank you. Thank you for being there for us when we have not been the best to her, for responding to our needs even when we haven't taken care of her well. Let's give her her flowers. Earth, we thank you for always being with us. And we declare on today that we will do the best that we can to show you how much we love you, to take care of you and humanity that you support. Take another deep breath in and exhale all of your concerns and the weight that you carry in the heart for Earth. I invite you back into the room, fully present, fully yourself, as you inhale, as you exhale, and as you honor the breath inside of your bodies. Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you for that. Can we have a round of applause for that grounding exercise? That was wonderful. Thank you so very much. We're going to skip Amanda for this time. But I wanted to share with you, and again, just a quick reminder, my name is Kim Sutter, Policy Director with Virginia Interfaith Power Light, and I want to thank you all for coming and sharing your Wednesday evening with us. I want to share with you what our town hall objectives are. We want to bring awareness to environmental justice and the impact in our communities, to get to know Virginia Interfaith Power and Light and me, the new policy director, facilitate listening sessions around environmental justice issues in your community, and also educate on policy initiatives that we have. We're very excited about the 2026 General Assembly. It's right around the corner. And we also want to share with you how you can get more involved with Virginia Interfaith Power and Light. There we are. So who is Virginia Interfaith Power and Light? Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad you asked. We are, Virginia Interfaith Power and Light is the state affiliate for a national organization, Interfaith Power and Light, which is dedicated to bringing together all faith communities and communities of conscious to mobilize a faith-based response to climate change through energy conservation, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. We have over 4,500 active supporters across the whole Commonwealth of Virginia, and we work with more than 200 faith communities. Our supporters represent people from all walks of life and a range of religious and spiritual beliefs, connected by a fierce belief in humanity's role in taking care of our planet and each other. Virginia Interfaith Power and Light is a 501c3 organization. We started in 2004 and relaunched in 2016 by a group of dedicated steering committee members. We are part of a larger Interfaith Power and Light network, and we're very excited to be with all of you this evening. Here's our motivation. This is what gets us up in the morning. Our vision is overcoming the climate crisis, eradicating environmental and social injustices, and living in a just, thriving, equitable world. And how will we do that? I'm glad you asked. Our mission is to collaborate among people of faith and conscience to grow healthy communities by advancing climate and environmental justice. So our focus is on communities of color and low-income folks who are often affected by climate disruption and environmental injustices first and worst. They're often the sites for fossil fuel infrastructure, fracking. You can boo on these things if you'd like. Fossil fuel infrastructure, fracking. Did I hear a boo? Oil spills, asthma-inducing pollution, and environmental hazards. Boo, we don't like that. Okay, and our supporters represent folks from all walks of life, faith traditions, and spiritual beliefs, and we all have a common belief that we share a belief in humanity's role in taking care of our planet. So our current objectives are to support a just transition to sustainable, renewable energy, and to advocate for policies advancing climate justice and supporting renewable energy for all of Virginia. We also want to strengthen ongoing support and engagement of faith communities and expand our reach all across the Commonwealth. So, what is environmental justice? I do have a video I want to share with you this time. So if you'll bear with me, hopefully this works. It's just a short video to describe what environmental justice is, and it's super, super short, and then we're going to come back and we're going to ask you a lot of questions about your community, okay? All right, just one moment.
Where we live in society plays a huge role in the environmental benefits and risks that we're exposed to. And I'm going to actually draw in different parts of society by using this line, which represents a spectrum of society. On the right-hand side, I'm going to draw part of society that experiences higher poverty and also incorporates the often disadvantaged racial minority groups. On the left-hand side, I'm going to draw a much wealthier part of society. One of the things that we know is that living areas that experience high poverty and have a lot of racial minorities often have few environmental benefits compared to the wealthier part of society. What do I mean by environmental benefits? I mean green spaces, parks, recreational areas. What does that look like? Well, let me draw it for you. Using this triangle, this is supposed to represent environmental benefits. And one of the things we can see is that the wealthier part of society has much higher benefits than the high poverty and racial minority part of society. And as I mentioned, those benefits include things like parks, bike paths, and other green spaces. So one part of society seems to be getting a lot of benefit, while another part of society seems to not be getting as much benefit. But what the high poverty and racial minority part of society does get, it does get something. And what it does get, it gets a lot of environmental burden. So what does that look like? And this line is actually supposed to represent increasing burden. So compared to the high income part of society, the high poverty and racial minorities get increasing burden. And this includes things like waste facilities, manufacturing and factories, energy production, and transportation facilities, such as airports. And one of the things we have to consider is that these disadvantaged populations, they are really at risk because they're disadvantaged in many ways. They often have few alternatives in terms of where they work and where they live. They may have little awareness of the risks they may face being exposed to various environmental risks or pollutants or chemicals. They may also have other pressing issues, meaning that environmental issues are low on their agenda. And let us contrast that to the wealthier population. The wealthier population may very well be more politically powerful. They can also be economically powerful, literally being able to demand that the environmental beneficial facilities are placed close to them and the burdensome facilities are placed far away, and being able to control things like laws and regulations to benefit them more so than the other communities. And they can also be better represented in environmental groups or lobbying groups. Now, this is all of significance when we consider that the high poverty groups and racial minorities may have health problems such as asthma or obesity, because we know conditions like asthma have got strong correlations to environmental issues such as pollutants, particles, ozones, and these are part of the environmental burdens that these populations face. And also when we consider obesity, obesity can be thought of as a lack of access to safe recreational facilities where people can exercise. So lack of access to environmental benefits and lack of access to affordable grocery and shopping facilities. The big concept here that I want to write down is the concept of environmental justice. And what this concept really looks at is that there is a fair distribution of the benefits and burdens of the environmental benefits and burdens within society across all groups. And as we can see here, that is clearly not happening at the moment, and much action still needs to be taken.
All right, thank you, Khan Academy, for your explanation of environmental justice. Was this surprising to anyone? No? So typically the folks who are the most connected, wealthiest, they tend to have much of the environmental benefits. And then the folks who are less well off also have almost the inverse of all of the burden. Is that right? That's not surprising. Are there any communities in Richmond that you can think of that fit both of those descriptions? I see some head nods. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, we have to have you on the microphone. Just so that everyone knows, I'm not sure if we said it, we are streaming this live.
Windsor Farms on one hand and Hillside Court on the other.
Windsor Farm, the top line, and then what was the other one?
Hillside
hillside is on Burton, I see. Thank you. Would anyone disagree with that assessment? No.
One thing that I've learned over the years is that as cities developed, the prevailing winds on the East Coast come from the west. And so the west end of many communities is where the more wealthy would settle. And then as the factories or the mills or whatever would be on the east. And so as the winds went, the people who could move where they wanted to got on the side where the winds did not enter their environment, instead drifted to the east. So that's what you see in Richmond.
Interesting. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Does anyone disagree with westerly winds? Okay, thank you. I learned something today. We're going to talk more about environmental justice and environmental injustices in Richmond. Dr. Harris.
I just wanted to add that, you know, I obviously have seen this video quite a few times. And one of the things I feel like that has been left out is that also on the burden side, the heavy burden side, what also is lacking is beauty, the aesthetics of those green spaces, and what that means mentally and emotionally in addition to the physical impacts.
Yeah.
And I don't think we talk about that enough.
Excellent
So
point.
that's really, for me, and also an important part of it, you know, so that people have mental health and healthy outlook on life helps when you have an environment that's pleasing and comforting and actually, you know, brings some joy to your life.
Who believes that? I do. I certainly do. Thank you, Dr. Harris. That is a great point. When you don't have to worry about your air being clean or your soil being healthy or your drinking water being available and potable, you know, you're not as crabby, right? You're probably in a better mood, I can imagine. So thank you for sharing that. That is absolutely true. So what I'd like to do, before we go any further, also talk about our power. And this is part of this. You being here this evening in this town hall is part of our power, is that we hold a moral and political power and can leverage that clout to hold decision makers accountable and save our planet. The power is woefully underutilized in the environmental movement, the faith community power, but that's why we're doing these town halls, and I'm so glad that you're here this evening. So now I'd like to hear more from all of you, okay? And so I'm going to invite my colleague Glenn Allen to come up, and he's going to scribe for me. Can everybody give Glenn Allen a round of applause? He's going to hate it. Oh, no, he's not. He's going to dive right in. And so we have 4 questions, and I also invite our friends out on the interwebs, please put your comments in the chat or questions. And we have questions for all of you. And there are just 4 of them, and Glenn Allen is going to keep track of them for us. But we're really interested to hear more about what makes your community the community that you love to live in. Why do you care about it? Why are you here trying to protect it? Also, want to hear about what are some climate impacts or environmental impacts that you're feeling right now? And then also, what do you think we should do about it? And so I'll stop rambling, and Glenn Allen is writing things down already. Does anyone, no, you go right ahead. Would anyone like to share what does your community already do to serve its residents? And I'm going to ask someone to speak that may not have spoken yet. So Richmond doesn't do anything to help them. Did I see a hand up?
Please state the question again.
I sure will. It is, what does your community already do to serve its residents? Yes, sir. Yep, we need the microphone. Thank you.
Burn these calories tonight.
So, I mean, this is pretty simple, but simply For the most part, picking up trash, like garbage collectors and stuff. Heck, my apartment actually has, you put your garbage out of your apartment door, and they have a night crew that comes by and gets it each night.
Really?
But we don't recycle, unfortunately.
I'm hearing that quite often. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even some of the recycling companies that pick up the recycling don't recycle, which is
I
not
didn't
cool.
know that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I think we have someone else. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you are going to burn some calories tonight. Woohoo!
A couple of different things. I just learned that Henrico, Chesterfield, and Richmond are going in together on a composting program. It's a
Nice.
drop-off composting program, so that's encouraging. Also, bike lanes and more pedestrian-friendly crosswalks and whatnot have been established, and let's hear it for free GRTC transit. So that helps people get off.
Hey, how about that? Does everyone know what that means? Free public transit. Okay, is that working out? The free public transit. Okay, all right. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Shout out to Mayor Stoney, followed by Mayor Avula, for initiating and now investing in Richmond Green RVA 2050. Do I have that title right, people? Do I have that title right? Yeah, because that is a comprehensive action-based plan to move us to all kinds of sustainability efforts. And the number that you mentioned were under that, the compost, spreading the compost pickup. It's very comprehensive. It's, in fact, sometimes confusingly comprehensive, but but they're making real progress and measurable progress. And I think that's a real a beacon of hope.
Thank you. Very good. Go Richmond. Anyone else? Anything else that the city does? Even, yes, sir.
It's not a community I'm a part of yet, but I'm looking forward to it. This weekend is tree planting. It's a thing people do.
Shout out to the tree planting. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, well, what would you say your community's values are? I know that's a much deeper question.
What do you mean by community?
Your community. And your community does not necessarily have to be geographical. It could be groups that you belong to, or when I say your community, how you might identify where you live or where you go online. What does your community values look like? I'll tell you this, where I live in Norfolk, Virginia. And in my community, one of our values is that we show up for each other. And this past April, I was in a car accident, totaled my car, and one of my neighbors was driving behind me, reported in, and I don't know who all she called, but before the police got there, at least 3 of my neighbors showed up. So we show up for each other in that way. I call that a value. What do you think? And your community could be your neighborhood, it could be where you work or the work that you do.
All right, so I'll go with my online hobby community. I'm a cosplayer. If anyone knows what that is, you can talk to me later about that. What happened? Brain, please. Sorry. We have 2 big values are, of course, artistic expression, and with all the stuff going on lately, we consider art to be rebellion in a sense, because, society's getting progressively more boring in a lot of ways, so we are very big into embrace your inner child, and create something, even if it's small. The other value is, for the most part, there are unfortunately exceptions, but for the most part in the cosplay community, we try to hold each other accountable for justice-related issues. So whenever any big major worldwide event, like plenty going on now, we're constantly posting about that, and we try to encourage each other to post. And then if someone is toxic, we try to educate them. Sometimes we overcorrect, but for the most part, we try to hold each other accountable with justice issues.
Thank you for that. So I hear artistic expression, accountability, and also encouragement within the group. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
This is my church community. And one thing that we all value around here is the neighborhood and the schools around the neighborhood. We have partnered with one of the schools, so we give out Christmas gifts. We partner with them for Thanksgiving, and we value all of, in the after-school program and the preschool program. Also, we value our animals in this community, and they are very big. In this neighborhood.
The animals are big?
The animals,
What
yes,
animals
ma'am.
do you have?
We feed the dogs, we put water out, we put snacks out, treats. We have like twice a year where we give out little gift bags for the animals. We show up in the park. So we value our neighbors and the animals in this neighborhood.
That is
Dogs
beautiful.
and cats.
So you
Yes.
value, you are a true neighbor, you partner
Yes.
with people.
Yes.
You take care of all of our fur babies. Who has a fur
Yes,
baby?
fur
I don't
babies
have
are
a fur
very
baby
big in
right
this
now.
neighborhood, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be your fur baby.
No,
Mm-mm.
no.
I
no.
love it.
And a couple of months ago, we had where you could bring your fur baby to church. You know,
Is this a
this is a
pet-friendly
big,
church?
this community, this historical church here, right here in this area, they value their fur babies.
I see.
Yes.
Awesome. I want a round of applause for the fur baby friendly church. Thank you so much.
I would say connectivity, and that's in ways of like connecting with your neighbors. Like when I go on a walk, I love to be able to wave and say hi to my neighbors that I see. They sit outside on their front porches to be able to people watch, but also see your neighbors and
Yeah.
engage with folks in your community. But I also mean connectivity in a way of like just walkability and being able to get around and having that public transit as well, but also making sure that it's dignified, making sure that these things are accessible, our sidewalks are accessible to those maybe elderly or ADA, and also that our bus riders can ride with dignity. They have paths to get to their bus stops. They have shelters at their bus stops and are not, or seating. And I think Richmond, I mean, I went to VCU and that was one of the main things I loved. I was like, I can walk around to everything. I can see so many places. I've lived out past Short Pump where I didn't have any of that. And now I'm back down here in Churchill. And that's what brought me back down here, was having that connectivity, having neighbors, having community again.
I love that. Thank you. So I had connectivity and accessibility. Who has a front porch? I only got a porch 3 years ago, and I love it. I have like a little table and chairs, and people walk by, and we all say good evening or good morning. I love it. It brings community together, right? That's the whole point of that. Now let's talk about some not so happy stuff, okay? How might you have been affected by climate or environmental impacts? So that might be, again, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil. Again, I'll talk about my neighborhood first. I live on the south side of Norfolk. We are literally on the margins, wedged in between the Elizabeth River and the city of Chesapeake. I love it. It's my little slice of heaven, but we do have our environmental issues. One of the things is that some of my neighbors, well, we're surrounded by industry. We, on the south side of Norfolk, I believe 5 out of the 6 shipyards that we have are in that zip code, 23523. And there are other industrial facilities around there. But my neighbor that lives closest to the shipyard, she says that she stopped gardening because all of her cucumbers tasted funny, because she ate it with the skin on. So she has to peel, if she grows anything, she has to peel it because of the sandblasting emissions. That's not good. Okay, especially because for a good while we lived in a food desert. So we couldn't even grow your own stuff. Yeah. So I'll share that with you. Does anyone else have any similar experiences? Any health impacts from environment? Oh, sir, thank you. Oh, the microphone. I don't know why I keep forgetting. Any questions online before we're doing okay? Okay, thank you.
An obvious thing, specifically in like Jackson Ward area, the urban heat island effect. I mean, studies have been done that Jackson Ward is 5 to 7 degrees hotter than other places in the city. And like kind of tying it back to the beautification, like how do we have the economic justice? Because beautification usually means gentrification. And it's like, how do we keep marginalized communities in their communities once they've actually been bettered? But yeah, specifically Jackson Ward, the urban heat island effect.
Thank you for sharing that. I've heard that myself, that bike lanes have been kind of the precursor to gentrification, beautification and things like that. We would like there to be beautification where it doesn't mean that folks are going to start getting pushed out. That sounds like justice, right? Anyone else? Thank you for that. Anyone else?
So I grew up less than a mile from a coal-fired power plant, not in this city, but in a different city. But I suspect that this city
Probably very
may have
similar.
its
Yeah.
power plants as well. And, you know, when I was little, I didn't really understand the impact of that plant. But when I've talked to people who were older and, you know, had kind of were more actively opposing the plant, they talked about waking up in the morning and finding coal dust coating, you know, the street, automobiles, the porches, and how you had to kind of wash things off in the morning because of the dust that would accumulate overnight. You know, that plant was cited 5 or 6 times by the Environmental Protection Agency for spills. You know, the machinery that they use to generate the power uses toxic chemicals, you know, and PCBs, a lot of things, you know, that you don't want to have. So there was kind of the active air pollution issue with the soot and the dust, but also the chemical contaminants that stayed in the community and that polluted the groundwater and the soil and the river that ran past the plant. So they shut the plant down. It's no longer actively generating power. But one of the concerns I have is, you know, what did having that plant in my community mean for the health of people who were growing up? You know, I lost my sister to a very rare cancer, you know, and of course there's no way we'll ever be able to figure out if there was a connection. But some of the chemicals of the plant emits were carcinogenic. And so I wonder, you know, and when you breathe air, you know, that the asthma-inducing introduction you made earlier, you know, there can be changes in your genetic profile from breathing pollutants in the air. And they are inherited. They can be inherited. So you can pass that on to your children, and they can pass it on to their children. So the legacy of the plant, even though the plant is no longer actively generating power, and they actually took the smokestacks down because they wanted us to forget that the plant had ever been there. But I still remember, you know, that legacy, you know, will live on for generations.
Thank you for that. And before you give the microphone up, did they clean up that site, or did they just take the stacks down?
They're working on the cleanup. I've been on an advisory committee for 12 years while they have studied how to do the cleanup, and they just released the first plan about 6 months ago.
Thank you. And I feel like that deserves a round of applause. Thank you for that.
No one has mentioned this, but we have had flooding, sea level rise, flooding in Richmond, and certainly from Norfolk, you've experienced that, where whole neighborhoods become unlivable because, you know, they have to address how much asphalt's there and no way to address the flooding that's displacing people.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. I would say Norfolk in particular, we have a lot of attention on us, and deservedly so. But there are other communities around Hampton Roads that are going through this as well. But quite often, who recognizes intersectionality as a term? So for us, what I've found is that if you're looking for a place to live, you have to choose between affordability and safety as far as flooding. Because if you can find a place that doesn't flood, the rent is probably a little higher. And if you can find a place that the rent is affordable, yeah, it's probably going to flood. And I have a friend that she's lost 3 cars over the last, 10, 15 years, but there's a lot. And so a lot of these issues stack on top of each other, and I imagine it's probably the same here as well. Dr. Harris.
Well, I just wanted to add that when you think about it from that perspective, that it also is an economic issue, which is why environmental justice is such an expansive term, because it's not just that you have asthma and COPD and cancer. The cost of having that, the medical cost, the cost of losing 3 cars in 10 years. I keep my cars for 10 years. I try to get the most out of that car, wring every, mile I can get out of it. So just think about the cost being piled on. You have asthma, then you have loss of 3 cars. So I just think that when we're talking about environmental justice, we need to also recognize how it actually, the intersectional, but how it compounds to make life even harder for people who are already, struggling.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you, Dr. Harris. So here's the part where we have to remind ourselves that we're powerful, because we can talk about solutions. I have a firm belief that those who are closest to the problem are also closest to the solution. So I'd like us to daydream and wonder a little bit. Out of all of the things that we were thinking about that we're facing, with the flooding, with the air quality, with the, give me one, Glen Allen. Coal plants, with the heat islands, what are some things that what can we do to be more resilient? Gentleman in the back just mentioned that we're planting trees. That will definitely help with some heat island. It will also help with the beautification. And when people from the community are planting trees in their community, they're more likely to take care of them, to feel good about their space, maybe hang a birdhouse, and, a whole new world opens up for them. So I'm just kind of shouting out some ideas, but I would love for someone to share with me some ideas that they might have. I know you got them. Thank you. You're doing a good job.
Thanks. You just explained it, but I'm going to reemphasize planting trees because, yeah, like you said, it can actually bring the community together and get them to get to know each other more as they are taking care of things, and that might motivate them to become more like, I believe as you said this, that your community has each other's backs, so that might help them out with that. And another thing is, in addition to just planting trees, is planting, I forget what it was called, but some people who have their own yards have a way of planting native plants there and taking good care of them, so that way, because bees are dying off, fireflies are dying off, birds probably, well, unfortunately, as much as I love cats, they're responsible for that one, but butterflies, all of that. So we need native flowers and plants that the bugs can make use out of. Oh, same thing with raking leaves. I know it's not as simple as just stop doing that, but if any neighborhoods have the ability, find that happy medium where you can at least let leaves do somewhat of what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very good. Did I see your hand up? I think you got an idea. I know you
See
did.
his wheels
Uh-huh.
turning. I'm gonna just come stand close to you. There it is.
I'm part of, there's this community cleanup where we literally just go pick up trash in Jackson Ward. It feels futile at times, but it just gets you up off the couch doing something, feels good. So small little things, individual actions, but the systematic changes are where leaps and bounds can really happen. So how do we build collective power?
That sounds really good. I'm trying to think of the Bible verse. Where's my pastor? Where's my bishop? Despise not the day of small beginnings. Okay, there he is. All right, I'm going to start preaching in a minute. But always good to start where you are with what you have, and it leads to bigger things. I know that for my community, there's a section where it floods a lot, and we do cleanup, but that's to keep the trash out of the drains so that we can keep the water flowing, right? So thank you for that. That is not a small thing.
Yeah, on the note of collective power, and I was gonna say education as well, having more of these conversations and opportunities to connect and learn from each other in this way. And also just, I work in the General Assembly some, and also just an encouragement for you all to speak to your legislators and speak to city council members. Like, you are their constituents and they need and want to hear from us, but also working in coalitions, working with community. Like I said, it's, that collective power is real, and it makes a difference. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other ideas before we move on? And then I'm going to have to put my policy director hat on and talk about bills. But before we do that, any other ideas of things that we can do in our communities or should be done in our communities, even if we don't do it ourselves? All right. Well, before I move on, I just want to thank you for sharing your community with us. And I also want to just say thank you for giving us some ideas to chew on for future activities. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we're not going to do breakout groups because we just did this part. But what I'd like to do is share with you some policies that we are working on right now. Let's get to my notes. So we have 4 categories of policies that, and thank you, Glenn Allen, for taking notes. This was wonderful, yay. We have 2 bills concerning healthy communities. And, yes, ma'am?
The lights come down at all because I just can't read straight.
Can we turn that light out over here?
We can't read or do it.
Okay. Oh, we're working on it. Thank you for saying that. It's just too bright. Oh, yeah, there it is. Is that better? Oh. Okay, all right. Thank you. What's your name? Hey, Miss Courtney, can we give Miss Courtney a round of applause? I'm going to do it anyway. She's so humble. But thank you so much for working so quickly. But we have policies around healthy communities. And in these bills that would require cities and counties to consider environmental and health impacts on comprehensive planning. We also have a cumulative impact bill. I can't wait to share that one with you. Also, we're working on 2 bills to help relieve energy burden. And then also managed retreat for legacy properties in rural and flood-prone areas. So what I'd like to do is start off with healthy communities. Again, these are 2 policies. We have one being patroned by Delegate Simons and another in the House. And before I feel like I'm going too fast. So who knows when I say the General Assembly, what I mean by the General Assembly? That is where our state legislators are. And then our state legislative is made up of the House and the Senate. So our House of Delegates, the delegate that is carrying the Healthy Communities Bill is Delegate Shelley Simons. And in the Senate, Senator Bagby is carrying that bill. And so we're very excited. It passed in the General Assembly last year, and our current governor vetoed it. You can boo that if you want. Boo. And the year before, he's on a roll. But we are very hopeful with a new administration, and especially with all of these new environmentally friendly legislators. We're feeling really good about these two bills passing this year. So we can cheer that one. Hooray! Okay, and cumulative impact. So our cumulative impact, yes ma'am. I skipped right over that, didn't I? I did. In the Healthy Communities Bill, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
I just wondered if all those bullets address one bill or if there are multiple.
They're all in the same bill. Okay. So it would increase, the question was, each of the bullets, is that all in one bill? And it is. It is to increase the focus on community health in our regularly scheduled comprehensive plans within our planning commissions. It's okay, not many people know what a planning commission is, or that there is a comprehensive plan. So just so you know, most cities and counties have a body that is called the Planning Commission, and it works in conjunction with the planning department. And as you can imagine, they plan into the future. And I'll say that for the city of Norfolk, we just wrapped up our NFK 2050 comprehensive plan, and it goes all the way out to the year 2050, so 25 years from now. By law, every city and county has to look, at minimum, take a look at their comprehensive plan every 5 years. In Norfolk, we redo ours every 10. And again, it's just kind of projecting out into the future to see what areas of the city should have commercial, should have industry, should have residential, should it be multifamily, and that sort of thing. So as we're thinking about how people are using our land, the land in our communities, we should also consider the health of the communities, the health of the residents. So this would encourage a robust community engagement, so that we can hear from the communities about what they want. And also, it will increase equal protection for vulnerable communities from environmental and health hazards. So again, this is making the planning commissions consider environmental justice and health impacts in their decision-making for the future. Thank you, Dr. Harris. I skipped right over that. Any questions about that? We will have a moment for questions at the end. Okay. Now let's talk about cumulative impact. So I mentioned before that in my neighborhood, 5 out of the 6 shipyards in the city are right in that same zip code, 23523. But right now, right now, make sure I read this correctly, because it would require, with this bill, it would require state agencies to evaluate the total pollution burden vulnerable communities face before approving new industrial permits. And it increases public participation in the permitting process. For too long, agencies have reviewed each facility in isolation, almost as if emissions from one plant won't combine with the next plant. But communities don't live permit to permit. They live with the cumulative impacts like asthma, contaminated soil, and the stress of knowing that your neighborhood is being treated as disposable. So California, Maryland, Minnesota, and New Jersey have very similar bills. And this is a science-based approach to protecting public health by explicitly considering cumulative impacts. So it would require a lot of community engagement, where folks were being notified of what's going on in their community. There will be a requirement of the industrial facility to produce a cumulative impact and environmental justice statement. And it would also, if they're discovered that, yeah, this community is definitely being affected by all of those facilities in the area, now, facility owner, what is your mitigation plan? If the mitigation plan is unacceptable, then this means that the agency may deny that permit. So we're working with Delegate Tran on this one in particular, and we're very excited about meeting our senatorial patron soon. Okay. Next, we have relieving energy burden. Who has a refrigerator? I'm sure you do. Everybody should have a refrigerator. Okay, so, and you probably don't know this, and when a policy works, you can just live your life without thinking about it. Right now, there are federal minimum efficiency standards. Now, we have Energy Star, and that's like, yeah, you're great, but there's a minimum standard that every appliance has to meet. Currently, in our current federal administration, they are considering eliminating 17 whole categories. 17 whole categories, we can boo that too, of appliances, and those standards would go right out the door, okay? But if that happens, the states then can place their own standards, okay? And so this bill, what it would do is to, this bill would say, hey, whatever the standards are for the federal, that's what our state ones will be. Nothing will change, okay? Without this bill, like inefficient and probably very problematic appliances will just flood into the state. And you will buy a refrigerator thinking like, yeah, sure. And then trying to figure out, why is my electric bill so high? You know, because those energy efficiency standards have gone away. So this is what we kind of consider this a backstop. So if it goes away federally, we'll have this for the Virginia. Next, also relieving energy burden. This is this bill would establish a weatherization task force. It will evaluate, who's ever had a weatherization audit on their home? Or church, yeah. So what this will do it will look at weatherization repairs and energy efficiency upgrades. And again, this task force would be empowered to develop a comprehensive plan for the state to provide weatherization-ready repairs and energy efficiency upgrades to low-income households, particularly those who are renters or residents of manufactured homes. Typically, these types of interventions are done just for homeowners, so we want to make sure that we're much more inclusive. Okay? And next, we have legacy properties. So, what this bill will do will be to it will study how many folks are in this situation. So not quite an actionable bill just yet, but this is to ask for a study that would evaluate the legacy of homeownership in rural and flood-prone areas, helping families hold on to their land and receive assistance for flood mitigation or relocation if necessary. Too often, Black, Indigenous, and rural families lose generational land because of rising waters. This bill ensures that when we talk about managed retreat, which is moving communities away from dangerous flood zones, so that, but we do so, we do so with justice, dignity, and care for the people who built those communities. So again, this is a study just to look at how sea level rise might be pushing out seniors and folks that live in rural areas that are also flood prone. Oops, sorry, I went too far, too fast. Come back. One more. There we are. Okay. So who's heard of Reggie? Reggie is not my middle school boyfriend that carried my books. Reggie is the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. And what it is a cap and trade program for carbon dioxide emissions. Virginia joined Reggie in 2020. There were some things that happened related to the Virginia Air Pollution Control Board, but in November of 2024, a circuit court judge ruled that it was unlawful to remove Virginia out of Reggie. But that same judge agreed to temporarily halt his ruling that the withdrawal was illegal to allow the state allowing the state to stay out of Reggie pending an appeal by the Attorney General. We got a new Attorney General coming in, so again, we're really hopeful that we'll remain in Reggie. But just so you know how it works is that it's basically putting a price on carbon. If you emit and then that money, you basically pay, right? You're not pay to emit, but that money is reinvested in communities that are directly impacted first and worst by sea level rise and climate change. So we're fighting really hard to make sure that we remain in Reggie and that we can make sure that that system works again for all of Virginians. We're also working to keep the Virginia Clean Economy Act. So let me go next. The Clean Economy Act was a landmark Virginia law mandating that a transition to 100% carbon-free electricity by the year 2045. And to achieve that through renewable energy standards, mandatory energy efficiency programs, and incentives for solar, aiming to reduce emissions, lower costs, create jobs, and ensure that our energy grid is reliable. So we're fighting to keep those two, Reggie and the VCEA. Okay, I ran through those pretty quickly, but I wanted to stop for a moment and pause. Does anyone have any questions about, yes, ma'am. Where is that microphone? Oh, is this one on? Is this thing on? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the work our church has been doing, we have been following and supporting Power and Light's legislative priorities for several years now. So, of course, we're very familiar with the first one about incorporating into comprehensive plans. The next set, I think, is pretty new. So there's some very exciting ideas in there, but wow, where did they come from? So I know you had a process, Dr. Harris, because that's how you work. So just wondering where all those great ideas came from.
That is a great question. Dr. Harris? Oh.
Well, I'll let Kim also answer this, but basically from these kinds of conversations, from the campaigns and the work we're doing across the state, for instance, the legacy property, legacy,
Managed retreat.
Managed retreat, I always mess that up. We're working in Matthews County with a group of congregations where we have met and learned from them. They're already having loss of their wells because the water table is rising, but also they are dealing with sea level rise, so there's salinization in some of their wells, sediment already showing up in their wells. In addition, they're having to pump their septic tanks 4 and 5 times a year rather than once every 5 years. And these are people who have own this property, has been passed down to them from their grandparents or their great-grandparents, and many of them are senior citizens, and they can't afford to put in new wells. In addition to, it's almost impossible because the land won't perk. And then the septic tank, the issue with the septic tanks. So some of these people are on the verge of losing their property because if the county knows that they don't have water that they can actually use in their homes, they would be condemned. And so they'll lose all of their wealth, right? If your wealth is caught up in, is in your home, right, and in the land where you live, and you can't function there any longer, and the land is not sellable, we've got to we recognize that we want to try to help these people figure out, not just them, but also, for instance, in the Southwest, where they've had multiple floods year after year in Pound and in Bodotan, that these communities are communities that are often rural, often, many seniors, because young people move away, and they aren't in a position to be able to navigate the loss of their land that way. So they would be pretty much put into a situation of being impoverished. So that was, for instance, so that's where that comes from. The cumulative impacts, that one has been one that we've worked on for since 2021. And it's just recognizing the reality that you can't just continue to add polluting industry to a community and not expect it to have a compounding effect on that community. And so that's one that is related to permitting, so we want to be able to, DEQ right now cannot say no to a permit legally. We want to be able to give them that power, as well as we've lost the power of the Air and Water Board to deny permits and deny. These are important responses to changes in policy and in the code, but also coming right from the ground, the grassroots folk that we work with and where we learn about these issues. So,
thank you for that. And we also work in partnership with other organizations to help bills get passed as well.
This session, I expect there's going to be a lot of focus on data centers. And so data centers take a lot of water. So that's water that residents don't have access to. So also a question is, will you have policy papers developed on these available?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
certainly. And just so you know, data centers are added to the cumulative impact bill as well.
and we'll talk about, I think at the end, we'll talk about it a little more, but we have policy papers as well as we're also going to have legislative previews coming up as well.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you so much. Okay. Well, good. And obviously, if you do have questions about any of the bills or environmental justice in general, or how we can stay in partnership with each other moving forward, I'm getting there. So what's next? There we go. All right. Did you know that you can advocate for yourself? That you don't have to be a lobbyist in order to talk to your legislators? And we want to help you out with that. On January 21st, this is the day for all people, and we will be learning about advocacy, having lunch together, and we're to spend the whole day in meeting with our legislators. What we'll do on the front end is schedule meeting times with the legislators, and then we'll go and meet with them and talk about the bills that we care the most about, share our stories about how the effects that your community might be dealing with, and the things that you're doing to help out, and invite your legislators to join in. So that is January 21st. If you want, there's a QR code. There's one closer to y'all if you want to turn around too. But you can register using that QR code. And what happened? And we also have flyers in the reception area. So if you want to register for that, I would love to see your faces there. And it's always cool, just because I'll say it for myself, I keep thinking, man, this is what democracy looks like. Everybody's running around and talking to their legislators and reminding them who they work for. And then also, here are other ways. Dr. Harris mentioned just a moment ago about our legislative previews. This Tuesday, December 16th at noon, and then also on January 6th at 6 p.m. This will all be on Zoom and virtual. And Connor, wave your hand, Connor. Connor is going to, he will be helping us share with you a preview of what we'll be working on legislatively. Also, did you know that you can host your own EJ Town Hall, Environmental Justice Town Hall? And we can help you with that. So we want to make sure that we stay in touch. If you have some folks in your community that you want to share this with, certainly let us know. We also would love for you to become a Virginia Interfaith Power and Light partner, community, as well as a volunteer. Subscribe to our e-newsletter, and we don't spam you. I don't think we don't. Connor's shaking his head. We do not spam. No spamming. But we do provide a lot of good information in our newsletters. Also, if you'd like to support Virginia Interfaith Power and Light financially, you may do that, and it is absolutely welcome. And if you are on the interwebs, and especially our folks out there who are joining us either on YouTube or on other social media platforms, you can like, follow, and share on social media, on our social media pages. And this is the end of our presentation. Again, thank you so much for your time, for your attention, for your contributions. We're going to take all this back and figure out how we can support you as well. This is our fourth and final town hall this year. We went to Bristol, Virginia, where you can throw a rock into Tennessee, and Roanoke, Hampton, and Hampton Roads, and then we're ending here in Richmond. So again, I just want to thank you all for your time. If you have any other questions, please let us know. We're not going to rush out of here just yet, but I do think we want to be out by 8. And thank you. Oh, yes, ma'am. Dr. Harris said she introduced all the staff. Oh, Dr. Harris said that we were going to introduce all the staff. So if all of the staff could please join me up front. And then they walk away. That's cool. Oh, they're getting other staff. Okay. Connor and Sharika. I'm new too. And we're the newest bunch. And then Dr. Harris, do you want to join us? We are on camera.
So yes, let me introduce all of you. So I'm going to start on the end there. This is Glenn Allen Pinnell. He has an ironic name. But he is our lead organizer for the Cool the Cities campaign, which is the campaign that we are doing with Southside Relief, the City of Richmond, Groundwork RVA, and Happily Natural to cool the city. We're planting trees. We're going to be giving away trees. We are working to help the city become to make the tree canopy more dense, but also to lower the temperatures, not just the lowering of the temperatures for the outside ambient air, but it also helps lower your electric bills when you have trees in your neighborhood. And so, and it also cleans up the air, obviously. And we have learned from a study done in the University of Louisville in Kentucky, that they did a 10-year study planting trees in neighborhoods and found that they were able also to lower the inflammatory rates in people with chronic diseases like diabetes, asthma, and all of those are triggering, being inflamed or having the inflammation is actually what triggers a lot of those diseases. So we're doing our part with the City of Richmond. We have a 5-year plan there, and we will be planting altogether about 3,000 trees, right? Giving away and planting. And then this is Leticia Lee. She is our faith outreach organizer. So she's working with faith communities all across the city of Richmond, but also not in Richmond, all across the state, really, to help them become partners with us and to help them think about the ways in which they want to use their resources, not just financial resources, but their human resources to help not just green their communities, but also to help us to achieve environmental justice. Not just there, but everywhere. And then we have Connor Epley, who is our VCU student who's graduating next week. And Friday. And he's our communications manager, and he's also a Hampton Roadian. I don't know if that's what you guys say, but I'm adding that to you. Yeah. Yeah, but we're, and then we have one of our newest employees, Sharika Hockaday. She's our office manager and administrative assistant, and she is new to the climate world, but she's learning fast. And then, of course, we have Kim Sutterth, who has been in this climate sector for quite some time. She came to us. Well, not directly from Mothers Out Front, but she had spent many years working with another climate organization, Mothers Out Front, in the Hampton Roads area. So do you guys want to say anything? Kim has already said.
I said enough.
They just want to hear your voice.
Thank you for coming out tonight. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for coming out tonight. And also, yes, our newsletters are not spammy, I promise.
I just want to shout out my man right here who talked about native trees. Absolutely great point. The only trees we need to be planting are native trees, because everything else, like all those trees you see on the sidewalk that have like uprooted the sidewalk, they're not native trees. That's the problem.
And I just want to say, on behalf of Reverend Marvin L. Gilliam, the pastor of Mount Carmel Baptist Church, thank each and every one of you all for showing up here on today. Would just like to take a moment to shout out our trustees, the trustees of Mount Carmel. Think they're in there tidying up, trustees. Shout out to the media ministry for helping us be able to set up and provide multiple streams of connectivity today. And also shout out to our the hospitality committee at Mount Carmel Baptist Church for the ways in which they've served, set up, and hosted VAIPL on this evening.
Also, Kim did a great job of shouting out Day for All People, but I wanted to shout out two more things that are also available in there with flyers. Does anyone know any young people in their life, maybe students who are interested in advocacy? We have a Student Day of Action workshop coming up, or a Student Day of Action lobby day similar to Day for All People. And so we have students from all over the Commonwealth come in, meet with their legislators, attend workshops and sessions. So if you guys are part of a faith community, or if you have a bulletin board or somewhere you can hang up a flyer, we encourage you to come take one in there and share the word. We talked a little bit about the Virginia Clean Economy Act, and we have been hearing some whispers that potentially people are going to try to weaken it. And we've also, last few years, ever since it passed, there's been attempts to either repeal it or weaken it. And so we want to let our legislators know that we want the Virginia Clean Economy Act to stay, and we want to strengthen it. So we have a petition to the leadership in both the House of Delegates and the State Senate on both sides of the aisle to keep the VCEA in place. And so we have a flyer in there as well that we would encourage you to sign the petition there. So yeah, that's all I wanted to shout out. Thank you again for coming out, and I'll pass it back down.
If you have time Saturday, we're planting trees. So come on out. Oh, so, you didn't say it, so I didn't know. Oh, okay. I'll get him to say it.
Oh, and if you can stay behind after we cut the stream, we would love to take a group picture because we love y'all and y'all love us.
So as Sharika was saying, Saturday, if you guys aren't doing anything, in Roy West Park, it is by the Northside YMCA. We're planting trees at 11 a.m. So if you want to come get your hands dirty, put some stuff in the ground, help a community, we would love to have you. Yeah, that's really it. 11 a.m. Yeah. Roy West Park.
Again, I'd like to thank all of you online and in the room for taking the time. We do not count your time as unimportant, so we know that you had many other things you could have done tonight. And because the storm decided to put a damper on us a little bit, we were hoping to have a much larger crowd, but we're happy for those who were able to make it out in spite of the maybe possibly slippery roads. Please be careful driving home, and thank you again so much for your time tonight. And we will want to make sure that you learn more about our bills. Our first session, our first preview session is December 16th. Next to 12 p.m., right? So it's a lunchtime, 1 hour. Give you a lot of information. We'll have talking points and one pagers and all that. Not by next Tuesday, but before the General Assembly starts. So we're going to make sure that you're prepared and you feel confident when you're talking to your legislators.
Check your email for the sign up for that.
All right, so let's take a photo really quick.
Okay. Yay! Thank you to the trustees. And also, thank you to everybody online.
Yes,
thank you so
you.
much for joining us. And let's go ahead, if all hearts and minds are